Hello and welcome to my channel Florist Patch. This is the third and last part of the Ginkgo leaf tutorial. So just to recap, we had the drawing in part 1 in pencil, then this is the tracing of the leaf from the drawing and the watercolor paper, and this is the watercolor paper with the leaf on it, and in part 2 we did the inking. So we are now ready for some watercolors. The first thing I need to do is to select the colors that I'm going to use to paint my leaves. So I have my normal watercolor box, and I also have a little trial watercolor box, and in here are the colors that I am trying at the moment, and I haven't yet decided if they're going to make it to the big box or not. And I have these as well, and these again are trial tubes that I'm testing at the moment. I use them for several paintings and then I decide if they make it or not to my big palette. So the main color for this one is going to be yellow ochre. And this is this color. So it's actually quite close on its own, really. It won't need much to it to make it into the main color of the leaf. It's definitely going to be the base color. I am also going to use Hansa Yellow Light, which is a lemon yellow, but it's a transparent one. You have to be careful with lemon yellows. Some lemon yellows are transparent and some are opaque, so you need to check which brand you are using. It's very important to use transparent colors. And these two together, when mixed together, will do that sort of color, this range of colors, and that will be good for the leaf. I'm also going to use some of the earth colors for the blemish. So I have burnt umber and raw umber. There will be a little bit of raw umber in here as well, and here is a bit more burnt umber. I'm even going to go as far as burnt sienna for that one. We are now ready to put some colour on this little thing. So first thing is water. I paint wet in wet, so I always use quite a lot of water before I even think of putting paint on. And you can see as I put the water that the ink is dissolving a little bit. Not very much, just a little. It kind of removes the whitest of the white by spreading the ink a bit, and also gently blends in the veins into the texture of the leaf, which is something I quite like to do, so they look less sharp just with the water added. So I make sure there's loads of water and it's evenly wet all over, so no dry bits and no puddles. It needs to be completely even, otherwise when I put the paint on it's going to dry unevenly and it's not going to be pretty. The brush I'm using is the Princeton Neptune, and it's a brush I am testing at the moment, and I chose it for this because it's very, very soft. It's a fake squirrel brush. It's a synthetic imitating squirrel, and it's soft enough that it won't erase those lines because the ink dissolves a little bit. If I use a very harsh brush, I might erase them a little bit too much, but with a very soft brush like this, it just blends them in the texture a little bit. Okay, so the first color I'm going to put on is lemon yellow, which is my base. So the lemon I'm using is actually not called lemon, it's a lemon yellow, but it's called Hansa Yellow Light by Daniel Smith. And I will put all the name of the colors in the description box below the video so you can see them written down. So that bit here I'm going to use less yellow, and the other side I'm going to use more yellow. And then while this is still wet, I'm going to add my ochre. So this is yellow ochre, again Daniel Smith, and I did not mix anything on the palette. Everything's mixed straight on the paper. So I'm adding an even amount of color, so that in some places it looks more yellow and in some other places it looks more ochre, to give natural variations to the leaf. That side is a little bit deeper in color, a little bit browner. So I have put a bit less yellow on there, but I'm going to add more ochre to make up for it. And I'm even going to use burnt umber on this side. You can see the paper is still wet, so anything I'm adding is spreading and blending. Because I put a lot of water on, I have quite a bit of time to keep working. It's not gonna dry on me too quickly. Okay, that's it for the first wash. The second wash is going on the leaf. The colors are the same as the first time around. So the base is yellow ochre, and then a bit of Hansa Yellow Light in the yellowest parts, and a bit of burnt sienna in the warm brown areas. One of the things that I really like about ginkgo leaves, well, one of the things I like about ginkgo leaves is that they were already around at the time of dinosaurs, which I think is pretty amazing. But also they're very delicate and very elegant, and I don't want to go too heavily with the paint because the ink has done most of the work, and that's enough to give the structure, to give the texture, and the watercolor wash is there to indicate the color but not too heavily. Now the third wash is going on. Still wet in wet, so using quite a big brush, that's a number 12, to put down some water. Now the first time I did this, the ink diluted a little bit, which was quite good because now the veins are blended into the texture of the leaf. But now the first watercolor wash has sort of sealed them in. I can go over and it won't affect them anymore. So that's the yellow ochre. I've put the leaf down next to the painting so that you can all see where I'm going with this, what I'm aiming for. And I'm still blending the colours straight on the paper without mixing them on the palette first. The washes look less flat if you do that, they look a bit more lively. Right, that's enough wet in wet work. The next bit will be a little bit of dry brush to strengthen and sharpen the blemishes. The third wash has dried completely, and this time I'm going to use dry brush for the smaller areas. So I've got the little folds here. And the reason I'm doing dry brush is because it's small enough not to show brush strokes as it dries. This time I've mixed the colours on the palette rather than on the paper, again because this area is so small there wouldn't be much benefit in mixing straight on the paper. There's not much room for the colours to move around. So I've got a little pool of mix here, and that's my three colours, yellow ochre, Hansa yellow light, and a bit of burnt sienna. But as I paint, I pick some individual ones as well. I don't necessarily pick my paint from that little pool here. If it needs to go a bit browner, then I'll pick a bit of that. If it needs to go a bit yellower, I'll pick a bit of that. You can see all the bits of colours everywhere on here. I don't like to have one massive pool of colour and just pick from that. I like to add a lot of variation. And then I'm going to pick more of that brown, and I'm going to go in here as well, make it a bit darker in the fold, and then drag it along the veins. Now the last little bit to do is to darken the blemish a little bit. So I'm going to go with raw umber. So it's a very sort of greyish brown. And I'm just going to go over this little area here where the leaf is broken up. And that's the ginkgo leaf painted. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please don't hesitate to leave some comments in the box below. I always like to hear from you. And if there are some subjects you would like me to do videos about, make some suggestions as well, and I will make a list and go through the list in time, hopefully. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon on Florist Patch. Thank you. Bye.